Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Amma ba'du fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. والذين يكنزون الذهب والفضة ولا ينفقونها في سبيل الله فبشرهم بعذاب أليم. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حصنوا أموالكم بالزكاة وداووا مرضاكم بالصدقة أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي رب زدني علما. My respected elders and brothers, today's topic is the different rulings of zakat, the definition of zakat, who is supposed to take out zakat, who is supposed or eligible to receive zakat. So inshallah we'll go in the details. If anybody has any questions at the end, inshallah they can ask. First of all, what is the status of zakat? There are 4 points in this page. The first 3 are the status in Islam, and the last one is the definition. So number 1, zakat is one of the most important pillars of Islam. It is a monetary act of worship or ibadah that has been obligated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now ibadats that we translate as acts of worship are of 2 types. Either those ibadats are related to the body, physical ibadats, or either those ibadats are related to money, monetary ibadats. Or the third category is it's a mixture of both. So the example of a monetary ibadat is zakat. What could be an example of a physical ibadat? Salah is an ibadat of a pure physical form of ibadat. What is an example of the mixture of both? It's a physical ibadat also, and it's a monetary ibadat also. Hajj. You have to take yourself physically also, you have to spend money also. So these are the 3 types of ibadats that are there, and zakat is a monetary ibadat. This is its status, one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Number 2, denying its obligation takes a person out of the fold of Islam. If somebody, na'uzubillah, says, I don't consider zakat farz, he leaves the circle of Islam right away. Number 3, he believes in zakat, but he's not discharging zakat, delaying it, being lazy, stingy, kanjusi hai, nikalne ki himmat nahi hai. Not discharging zakat after it has become due is a major sin. He's committing a major offense in the sight of Allah. These three are the status. The last one is the definition of zakat. It is a set amount ordained by Sharia that must be given with the intention of zakat from the wealth of a person, and the ownership of this amount must be transferred to eligible individuals. So, four parts are there in the definition. First part is it's a set amount ordained by Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We cannot fix it today, 5%, 10%. Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam have done it and for until the day of judgment. What is that amount? 2.5%. Second part of the definition, that must be given with the intention of zakat. Somebody takes out 2.5% but forgot to make the intention of zakat, and he already gave to someone. Now he cannot go backdate it. No, I already gave it 5 days ago, but I forgot. Let me backdate it and make it zakat. It cannot happen. When you are taking out the money and separating at home, either at that time or either when giving it to the eligible person, at least you should have the intention in the heart. Third part, from the wealth of a person, he should take it out from his own money, and the ownership of this amount must be transferred to eligible individuals. The last part of the definition is it's not just to give it to the individuals, it should be to make them malik, owner of that. We cannot give money in kafan for a dead body out of zakat. Why? The last part alludes towards it. Why? Nobody owns the kafan. The dead cannot become the owner of the kafan. So for janaza purposes, for kafan, for digging the grave, you cannot give zakat because it doesn't belong to anyone. This is a public thing. So zakat should only be given in that case to that person who becomes the malik, the owner of zakat. Examples will come inshallah down the road. But if you are able to understand from right now, it will be easy. So this is the definition of zakat. Warnings regarding zakat. Okay. What is, before warnings, we should give the glad tidings. So rather than scaring someone, so what are the virtues or the fada'il? What will Allah give us if we are going to give zakat? There is a hadith of Mustadrak Hakim. Mustadrak Hakim is a book of hadith compiled by Imam Hakim rahimahullah. And he compiled those ahadith that are on the caliber of Bukhari and Muslim, meaning the criteria that Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim rahimahumullah had, the criteria of authenticity, sahih. But they were not able to compile these ahadith in their lifetime, and they wrote Bukhari and Muslim already. So Imam Hakim rahimahullah, using the same criteria, all those ahadith that were left out, he compiled in his collection that is known as Mustadrak lil Hakim. So one of the ahadith that he has mentioned in the chapter of zakat is, on the day of judgment, the 8 gates of paradise will be open for those people who perform 4 types of things. All the 8 gates of Jannah will be open for those people who perform 4 things. Okay? 5 daily salah, fasting in the month of Ramadan, they pay their zakat, and they refrain from major sins. It will be told to them, enter from whichever gate you want. So this is the benefit of giving zakat, correct amount of zakat on the right time. Another hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned by Imam Bayhaqi rahimahullah and many other books of ahadith is, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that we mentioned in the beginning, Hassinu amwalakum biz zakat. You should fortify your wealth by giving zakat. Fort is something that protects the city. In olden days, they used to build a fort, qila banate the. So the invaders could not enter the city. They need to bombard the walls of the fort. So by giving zakat, you are putting your wealth in a locker that is unbreakable. Only Allah can break it. So you can fortify your mal by giving zakat. Wadahu mardakum bis sadaqah. Second part of this hadith is, cure your sick people by giving sadaqah. Sadaqah, as it comes in another hadith also, takes away the afflictions. Okay, so this is also a glad tiding or virtue of giving zakat. Coming on the slide, warnings regarding zakat. The ayah that I recited in front of you in the beginning, this is a translation of this ayah. Surah At-Tawbah, ayah number 34 and 35. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, more or less to the nearest meaning, as for those who accumulate gold and silver and do not spend it in the way of Allah, give them the good news of a painful punishment. Then Allah continues, on the day, it, meaning on the day of judgment, this wealth will be heated up in the fire of Jahannam. Then their foreheads, their sides, and their backs will be branded with this molten hot iron. It will be said to them, Haza ma kanastum li anfusikum. This is what you had accumulated for yourselves. فَذُوقُوا مَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْنِزُونَ. So taste what you have been accumulating. चखो उस माल को जो तुम दुनिया में जमा करते थे. ये है वो जो तुम जमा करते थे और ज़कात नहीं देते थे. So such will be the harsh punishment for people like me and you, who alhamdulillah Allah has given them money. They should take out zakat, but they don't take out zakat. Second warning in the hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is the hadith of Bukhari, the person to whom Allah has bestowed wealth and he does not give zakat, on the day of resurrection, the wealth will be turned into a venomous, bald serpent. The sharihin, the commentators of the hadith say bald means, literally bald, meaning the intensity or the volume of the venom, the poison will be so much that the snake will be bald. So venomous bald serpent or snake which will wind around his neck and bite his jaws and will say, Ana mali, ana maluk, ana kanzuk. I am your wealth, I am your treasure. So imagine the pain. So that's why it's a reminder for me and you that even if we have missed zakat for the previous years, do the calculation, estimate it, consult the ulama, slowly take it out. And starting now, inshallah, we should always be giving zakat. How to calculate it, how the date should be set, inshallah, we're going to learn. On whom zakat is obligatory. 8 conditions are there. 4 in this first slide, 4 in the second slide. If these 8 conditions are met, you have to give zakat. Any one condition is missing, you don't have to give zakat. Zakat is farz upon a person if he or she is Muslim. Non-Muslim doesn't have to take out zakat. Number 2, he or she is adult. So if an 8-year-old boy becomes millionaire by inheriting the money of his father, he doesn't need to give zakat unless he reaches the age of puberty. So number 3 is sane. If a person is insane, may Allah forbid, and he's a millionaire or she's a millionaire, they don't have to give zakat. Number 4, owner of wealth, at least the value of Nisab, threshold line. So easy way to understand this is you should be the owner of Nisab. What is Nisab? That threshold line, that cutoff line that makes you wealthy. Those who have less than this are considered not wealthy in Islam. And those who have this much and more are considered wealthy. So meaning the minimum amount of wealth in Islam. How much is it? How are we going to calculate it every year? Inshallah, down the road we'll see. The remaining 4 conditions. Furthermore, the wealth must be fully owned by the person. What does it mean? We all own our money. But sometimes we own it, but we cannot use it. Example is you lend money to someone, $5,000. You own it. As long as he denies and he runs away and you have to run after him, that's a different thing. But as long as he acknowledges that I have to return my loan to you, it's your money. You own it. But you cannot spend it because somebody else is holding on to it. So this is not full ownership. Full ownership is you own it also, you can spend it whenever you want, wherever you want. So it should be fully owned by the person. Number 6, in excess of personal needs. Urdu mein kehte hain zarurat-e asliya se zaid ho. In Arabic we say zaid an zarurat al-asliya. It should be excess or in excess of personal needs, clothing, household furniture, utensils, cars, related items. Meaning things that are of personal needs won't be counted in calculating zakat. Somebody usually has 3 cars. He usually drives one car. Second, he has a minivan that he only takes out on the weekend when the whole family goes out. Third car, he usually keeps it in the garage. Mostly people in the community own doesn't know, because maybe it's a Bentley or maybe it's a Mercedes. And he only takes it out twice or thrice a year. Okay? So nothing wrong. These are all considered within something that is needed. Sure, extravagance is not allowed in Islam. That's a totally different category that it's not recommended. But as far as the calculation of zakat, anything that is personal, the furniture we use, somebody has 5 different watches. He only uses one or two, and the remaining are at home. He only takes out on Eid, or maybe when going in a shadi, it may be in a nikah or a walima. That's fine. These are related to needs. Number 7, it should be possessed by the person for at least a complete Islamic lunar year. Complete Islamic lunar year meaning 1 year. Then that is known as hawl in Arabic. Hala alayha al-hawl. 1 year should have passed on it. We'll go in the detail how to calculate that 1 year. And now this is another point. Sometimes we take out zakat after the English year finishes. Then we are late. We should calculate, we should be ready to give our zakat after the Islamic year finishes. Because if you go by the English year, you're extending 10 more days. Every year you are going 10 more days ahead. Islamic year has 10 days less than the English year. So it should be an Islamic date, 1st of Rabiul Awwal, 15th of Shaban, 10th of Ramadan, something like this. Last and eighth condition, it should be of productive nature, i.e. gold, silver, cash, livestock, or trade goods. What does it mean, productive nature? It grows day by day. Gold doesn't literally grow. You got 1 ounce, it will stay 1 ounce until the next 100 years. It's not growing like me and you. But the value goes up and down. So whether it physically grows like the livestock or it potentially grows like gold and silver, there should be growth up and down in it. If something is stagnant, then you don't have to calculate zakat on it, because then the value would be depreciating. You buy a car, okay? Usually by the more the time you use it, it goes down. Unless, may Allah forbid, the situation that we are passing through right now happens again, that instead of going down, the prices are going up of used cars. That's a very abnormal scenario that happens once in a while. Usually it goes down, it depreciates. So this is the meaning. The item should be of productive nature. These are the 8 conditions that make the zakat obligatory. There is no zakat on assets that are not of a productive nature, even if these are in excess of one's need. As I mentioned, such as cars, utensils, houses. A person lives in one house, that maybe owns another house in the Hamptons. He just goes whenever he's on vacation, but it's for his own personal use, it's not on rent. There is no zakat. Furniture, as long as such items are not intended for trade. There is no zakat on those whose short-term liabilities are due immediately, exceed or equal their assets. What does it mean? You have $5,000, but you owe $8,000 to people. So these are short-term liabilities that are due immediately. Every year, every month, you have to pay a $500 or $400 installment. So this means you don't have to give zakat. Either you are even, or either whatever you minus on the paper, for example, $5,000 is a saving, $6,000 is debt. So you minus it, you are in $1,000 in deficit. 5,000, second example, $5,000 is the savings, and $4,700 is debt. You minus on the paper, you are left with how many dollars? $300. Zakat won't come on it, because $300 doesn't reach the nisab. How much is the nisab? We are going to learn. So either it goes down, either it's equal, or either it's below the threshold line, then zakat doesn't have to be given. Types of wealth on which zakat is fard, obligatory: gold and silver, be it in the form of jewelry, utensils, bullion, or any other form. Bullion means people buy coins or slabs of gold. Uh, uh, so this would be considered bullion. So it could be either from this category. Number 2, cash, checking and savings balance. Number three, loans lent to others which are acknowledged. You gave loan to someone, he said, "Who are you? I don't even know you. Forget about you. Have you ever gave me money? What proof you have?" So this means he's not acknowledging it. This type of loan, what is the ruling for it? It's a different ruling. And loans that are acknowledged, the opposite person is delaying because he is passing through a difficult time. But he is acknowledging that you gave him loan. So the hukum of zakat on that loan is different. Okay? If it's being acknowledged, zakat has to be given. Number four, merchandise for business equal to the value of nisab. Somebody owns a discount store, owns a clothing store, owns a factory. So the merchandise that is raw or finished product, if it reaches to the value of nisab, zakat has to be given. Livestock. Number six, income of properties if it is equal to the value of nisab. Rent, he's getting rent from the taxis that are running on the cities of New York, or he's getting rent from rental properties. If it's reaching the value of nisab, zakat has to be given. Number seven, income derived from a hiring business, such as cars, vans, trucks, etc. Zakat has to be given. The value of these should be at least the amount which is shown under nisab. Somebody gets a rent for $200 he receives in rent, and he uses it in that month. He doesn't have to give zakat. Okay? So it should be the amount, it should at least remain until the end of the year. For example, what's a scenario in reality? You're getting $1,000 every month from a rental property, and your zakat date is 1st of Ramadan. Every year, every month you get it and you use it. Some people use it as extra income. So alhamdulillah, they save it. So by the 1st of Ramadan, it stays there after mixing with their regular savings. But sometimes people use it. It's their source of living, whatever income they are receiving. So by Ramadan, nothing remains. So then zakat doesn't have to be given. Types of wealth on which zakat is not farz. Any metal, copper, brass, iron, besides gold or silver, as long as it is not for business purposes. If you are in the business of buying and selling metals, that will be considered merchandise. But if other than that, somebody keeps metals at home for whatever reason, it's not for business, zakat doesn't have to be given on it. Fixtures, fittings, or machinery of a shop, factory, delivery vehicle, which is used in the operation of a business. Somebody owns a factory. Does he have to take out zakat on the fixtures, on the fittings, on the machinery, on the delivery vehicle? No. He only has to give zakat on the raw material that came in and the finished material that went out and is there. That is only how zakat will be calculated. Number three, diamonds, pearls, and other precious or semi-precious stones which are for personal use. Some sister owns a diamond ring. She doesn't have to give zakat on the diamond. She only has to give zakat on the gold or silver ring that is holding the diamond in it. Or somebody buys diamonds. Just a sister has this shock, has this desire to buy diamonds for personal use. That's fine. But if it's for business use, buying and selling, zakat has to be given. It will become merchandise. However, zakat is payable on the gold or silver used in jewelry with diamonds, pearls, etc., as I gave the example of the ring. Number four, imitation jewelry, no zakat on it. Number five, living quarters, the houses in which we live, household furniture, personal clothing, whether they are in use or not, meaning sometimes rarely we use it, still also it's fine. However, Islam just does not justify extravagance. The amount of wealth which make nisab, threshold line. Now, how would a person know that he is the owner of nisab? Meaning he owns minimum wealth that makes a person wealthy in Islam. Islam में अमीर किसको समझा जाएगा? The amount of wealth which makes one liable for zakat is called nisab. Nisab is the threshold line or the cutoff line which separates those who are obligated to give zakat from those who are not. In other words, Nisab is the minimum amount of wealth whose owner is deemed to be wealthy in Islam, and zakat is obligatory on him. Haul. So two technical words will be used in the whole presentation. Nisab, which means the cutoff line after which you have to give zakat, you are wealthy. And haul means the period, meaning 1 year. Zakat is calculated periodically. Each period is one Islamic year long and is called a haul. This is an Arabic word. A person's haul date on which he calculates his zakat every year is set by the date on which. Now, how are you going to set? You are 17 years old, you are baligh, you are adult, you are going in high school, but you work also, or your father give you money on Eid, or gives you a gift when you get good grades. You have a savings of $400 with you. So you are fulfilling all the conditions. You have no debt on you. So from which day are you going to start giving zakat? So these are the three things to keep in mind. Number one, his zakatable assets reached the amount of nisab for the first time. The day on which your assets reached nisab, this is where the year will start. You'll start counting. And number two, one full Islamic year after that date. You start from a certain date, 1 year passes on it. Two conditions: the assets are at least the nisab value as long as some of the wealth remained throughout the course of the year, i.e., the wealth did not diminish to zero at any point throughout the course of this year. Thereafter, the zakat haul date remains constant on that date every year. If I explain it to you, it might not everybody would be able to understand. So let's look on the screen that how it looks like. Here's the example. I skipped one slide. I'll go back, inshallah. A person's yearly haul date is the 1st of Shaban, and his cash balances are: by the time you reached the nisab, assume nisab is $500. You ask the imam of your masjid, what's the nisab of zakat for this year on today's date? He said $500. On the 1st of Shaban, 1442, you got $2,000 all of a sudden. So this is the first day you became wealthy. Now your year will start. Ramadan first, $4,500 after 1 month. After 3 months, Muharram, you had to spend the money. You got an iPhone, you got a laptop, maybe Thanksgiving sale came in. You were only left with $200. Then by the time you reach Shaban the next year, 1443, that was yesterday. Today is the 2nd of Shaban. So by the time you completed 1 year, now you have $2,500. On what amount will you take out zakat? It says at the end, zakat will be payable on the 2,500 at hand on Shaban 1st, 1443. Now all three conditions are being met here that we studied in 2 slides before. You became the owner of Nisab on the 1st of Shaban. Nisab was $500 and you got 2,000. So this is where your counting will start, and you'll wait until the next 1 year. Right away, you don't have to take out zakat. And this was the fluctuation that came. So fluctuation doesn't matter as long as it doesn't hit zero. If it hits zero, your credit is lost. No more calculation needed. Now, once again, you get $500. Again, that will be the first day you became wealthy. The entire previous credit is gone. You have no credit history now. It's erased. Once it's $500 again your credit history will start. But here in this case on the screen, it never hits zero. Even if it would have become $5, and then on the 1st of Shaban, it is 2,500, you still have to give zakat on 2,500. So the fluctuations, as long as they don't hit zero, don't matter. Whatever the money you have on hand on that specific date, zakat will be calculated on it. So let's go on the slide with which we skipped. Now it will be easy to understand. The three scenarios that I mentioned verbally are now written in words in this slide. Number one, if one's wealth diminishes to zero at any point, the whole calculation restarts from the point his wealth reaches the nisab amount again. One scenario. Second scenario, if one's wealth decreases during the course of the haul and it increases again to the value of nisab by the date of the haul, the zakat must be calculated on the full amount that is possessed at the date of the haul, like the example we gave. Fluctuations in the course of the year are to be disregarded. Okay. If still there are any questions at the end, inshallah, you can ask. Haul. Zakat is due on whatever wealth is in one's possession on the date of the haul. It is not necessary that any particular asset remains in one's possession for a full year. This is a very general question that people ask every year. That just 2 days before the first of Ramadan, my zakat date is the first of Ramadan. And just 2 days before I got $5,000. Only 2 days have passed on it. Why should I take out zakat? I should wait for them to complete 1 year. So, no, not every penny has to complete 1 year. Whatever came in between, maybe you lost $5,000 one day before the first of Ramadan. You don't have to give zakat on it. It was used one day before, though it was lying for the whole year. So, whatever the balance on the date is going to be considered. Nisab. Now this word we are being using again and again. From here we learn what the nisab is. Nisab, threshold line and the rate of zakat. The nisab of gold and silver as fixed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is as follows: 87.48 grams, which is equivalent to 2.81 troy ounces of gold. So if somebody has only gold, nothing else, no money, not a single dollar, no silver, he only has gold, he will become sahibun nisab, he will become the owner of nisab when his gold reaches 2.81 troy ounces or anything above. Somebody has no dollars, no gold, only silver, he will not become the owner of nisab until his silver reaches 612.36 grams, which is equivalent to 19.69 troy ounces of silver. जिसको हम उर्दू में कहते हैं 7.5 तोले सोना, ये वही है. उसका वजन का पैमाना मुख्तलिफ है. तोला भी ग्राम और आउंसेस की तरह एक वजन होता है. 7.5 तोले सोना, 52 तोले चांदी. It's equivalent amount of cash or trading assets. Okay? Either somebody has gold or silver, or its equivalent amount in cash. So when you have zakat in shapes other than gold and silver, dollars, stocks, bonds, merchandise, anything, and take any example, property, the value will be the value of silver. This we are going to learn down the road, okay? So whatever the current value of silver, it reaches the value of your stocks, your property, your merchandise. This means your merchandise reaches the value of nisab. Now, how are you going to calculate it? This is practical, what's supposed to be done. Silver rate in the spot market on the 5th of March. You will just wait, inshallah, for a minute. बैटरी लेने गए हैं. Okay, how are you going to calculate the silver rate? Oh, the silver rate, yes. The silver rate in the spot market on March 5th. Today is March 5th, is the 2nd of Shaban. So I looked it up in the evening today at kitco.com or any precious metals website. The silver rate in the spot market on the 5th of March, that is the 2nd of Shaban, is $25.72 per troy ounce. So if you're taking out zakat today, you'll go online, you'll check the current value of silver. It will be $25, for example, and 72 cents. Based on this rate, the nisab in today's date will be $507. So whoever owns $507 today, he has to give zakat. He cannot take zakat, now he has to give zakat. So now, how did we come up with this figure of 507? We multiplied 19.69 troy ounces of silver by $25.72. This is the way of doing it. And this 507 is for savings, also for checking and saving account, for stocks, for whatever the case, whatever the form of the savings is. So now again, somebody wants to calculate on the 1st of Ramadan, go online because it fluctuates. Check the price and then make the calculation and you would know that should I give zakat or not. Nisab, threshold line, haul and the rate of zakat. As prices changes frequently, the current market rate of gold and silver must be used to calculate the dollar amount of nisab on the haul date. If one only has gold assets, the nisab for gold must be used to see if he is liable for zakat. Similarly, if one has only silver assets, he has to use the nisab for silver. If one has different types of zakatable assets, such as cash, merchandise, gold, and silver mixed, now which nisab was he going to use? Because you won't become wealthy if you take zakah, if gold as the nisab. You should have $5,500 in today's date to give zakat. Even if you have $4,000 saving, you would say, Mujhe to zakat nahi deni. I don't have to give zakat because I'm not reaching the nisab of gold. So this is not how it's done. This is what we are being told here. If one has different types of zakatable assets, such as cash, merchandise, gold, and silver mixed, he must use the lesser of the two nisab values. This is the most beneficial for the poor. What does it mean? Practical example. For example, I have as savings, I bought it for investment, for example. I bought 1 ounce of gold and I bought 10 ounces of silver. Neither 1 ounce of gold reaches its nisab because gold's nisab is 2.9 troy ounces. 10 ounces silver doesn't reach nisab, silver's nisab, because silver's nisab is 19.59 troy ounces. So I have 1 ounce of gold, 10 ounces of silver, and I have $200. Now, either way, I don't have, if you calculate cash, I don't reach the nisab. If you take silver, I don't reach the nisab. If you take gold, I still don't reach the nisab. But this is not how we are going to do. We are going to add the values of all three items. And after adding the value of gold, silver, and $200, if it goes beyond $526, I have to give zakat. And if it's still below $526, I don't have to give zakat. And this is usually the case with most of us. We have little of everything at home, and sometimes this confuses us. Now, what is the meaning of this last partial sentence that is bold? He must use the lesser of the two nisabs. This is most beneficial of the poor. This is the principle that the jurists since the time of Sahaba radiallahu anhum had made. That these are two criterias, gold and silver. Which of these two will we take as a standard? So the ulama say if gold is lesser than silver, we will take gold. If silver is of lesser value than gold, we will take silver. Why? At the end of the day, the poor people should benefit. Faqiron ka fayda dekhna chahiye. How will the poor benefit? If today we say zakat, if we make gold the criteria in today's date, the 5th of March, anyone who has less than $5,500 doesn't have to give zakat. Doesn't have to give zakat. And if we take silver, whoever has $526 has to give zakat. So see the difference. Where is 500 and where is 5,500? 10 times more. So that's why that nisab has to be taken so more people can give zakat and the poor people can benefit. Now this is being discussed in this country, in the US, by alhamdulillah, good traditional ulama, that in this part of the world, this is only for this part of the world, that you can take gold also as the nisab. It's your choice. You can go online on a masjid where you like to donate, in a madrasa where you like to give, because you cannot give zakat in masjid. In a madrasa, poor students are studying and they're asking for zakat, and in their zakat section tab on the website, it will say zakat calculator. Then they will give you a choice. You want to choose gold or you want to choose silver. This is, I don't want to go in that detail because this is an academic debate. So if you see this, they are not wrong. It's something that is hidden behind this. Why now for the last couple of years this debate has started in the US, and the ulama say based on the ahwal of this country, not Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, or not Arab countries, based on the ahwal of this country, we have an option of taking either gold as the nisab or either silver as the nisab. So this doesn't mean they are wrong. They have a whole set of evidences which are correct also. But still, some ulama are sticking to this, that we should go with the nisab that is the lowest in value, so the poor would benefit. So that's why I'm still using this same format. The rate of zakat. The rate of zakat, which was fixed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is 2.5%. 1/48th part of your wealth, that is 2.5 cents per dollar. If an alim or mufti stands up today and says zakat has been increased to 5% of your mal because so many poor people are living, poverty is increasing day by day, we won't take it. Nobody will take it. Sure, you want to give 5% instead of 2.5%, that will be extra sadaqah. But you cannot name it as zakat. Zakat until the day of judgment will remain 2.5%. Zakat is calculated by subtracting the liabilities due immediately or in the near future. We already discussed it. Practical example. Your zakat date is the 1st of Ramadan. The 1st of Ramadan, you're calculating all your assets. Then you look at your phone, the PSEG bill is due. In the next 5 days, you have to give it, meaning the closing date passed away. Your American Express card's bill is due. The closing date passed away. You have a grace period of $20. So this means these are liabilities immediately due. You can deduct the American Express credit card bill. You can deduct the PSEG bill. You can deduct the National Grid bill as long as it has become due. Not since you're expecting it in the next 10 days. No, that's wrong. If it's due, you can deduct it on the paper, and that whatever savings are there, zakat will be calculated on those savings. The method of paying zakat. Zakat should be given as soon as possible after it becomes due, rather than delaying it or waiting for Ramadan. It is possible that death occurs and thus leads to failure in fulfilling one's obligation. To delay without a valid reason is a sin. If you are delaying because you can't find appropriate deserving people, it's taking you time to inquire, तहकीक करने में वक्त लग रहा है, so that's fine. You should not be so hasty just to throw away your zakat. No, because if you give it to the wrong person, your zakat will not be accepted. So delay without valid reason is sinful. Number two, zakat must be paid on a loan lent to others when the loan is received back. What does it mean? It means, as I mentioned in the beginning, technically zakat should not come because that mal doesn't fulfill the two conditions of ownership. One is you own it, one is you can use it. Here you own it, but you're not using it. So why are they saying zakat should be paid on a loan lent to others when the loan is received? Oh, sorry, no, this doesn't fit here. Zakat must be paid on a loan lent to others when the loan is received back. That's understood. Zakat of all previous years during which this money was lent out must be calculated and paid. So if you lended money to someone in 2017 and now he is returning you in 2022, you have to give zakat for all the 4 or 5 previous years that passed away. Right away, instantly, you have to take it out. It is recommended that zakat on this loan be paid every year. This is important. It is recommended that zakat on this loan be paid every year as long as it is acknowledged, so it does not become difficult to pay all the previous year's zakat at once when received. This was I was trying to explain, but I mixed up. So in other words, as long as the opposite person is acknowledging, wo mukar nahi raha, he's acknowledging that I will give you the money, don't wait for the time he gives you money, though you are fully allowed to wait. But sometimes it becomes difficult. for a person to take out instantly the last 5 years of zakat. So if he's acknowledging and you can afford, take it out every year. So once he gives it to you, you have no burden on your head. But if you cannot afford, no sin, then as soon as he gives, before using that money, minus the 5 years of zakat. This is the meaning of this. The method of paying zakat. A poor person cannot be paid for his work from zakat. Mazdoor ko zakat se tankha nahi de sakte. Nor can zakat be given in payment of one's services. कोई सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करता है, ज़कात का हकदार है, तो हम उसकी तनख्वाही ज़कात से दें, ये सही नहीं है. Except when an Islamic government pays salary to persons appointed to collect zakat. When the Islamic government was there, they used to send collectors of zakat as if they hired people for this sole purposes. Okay? As we see in the history, in the time of Sahaba radiallahu anhu and the people after them, a collector would come, an auditor would come from IRS, you can say in today's language, would assess the wealth and give you a receipt for 2.5% zakat. So if you own a livestock of camel, maybe one good camel you give him, you get the receipt. It will be submitted in the Baytul Mal, the Islamic treasury. This is how it was done. So those people did it as a job. So the Islamic government can pay them from the zakat that is being submitted. Other than that, nobody can be given zakat for their purposes, for their services, sorry. Zakat will only be valid if the recipient is made the unconditional owner of the amount, as we mentioned before. This is referred to as tamlik in Arabic, malik banana. Zakat cannot be given or used for the construction of a masjid, madrasa, hospital, a well, a bridge, or any other public amenity. The thing is, nowadays you might hear from some scholars that we are living in a non-Muslim land, so we are allowed to take zakat for masjid, we are allowed to take zakat for Islamic school, we are allowed to take zakat for the maintenance and the building of the madrasa. So this mas'ala is not correct. Why is it not correct? At the end, the slide will come, inshallah, then I'll go into detail. The method of paying zakat. Poor adult students can be given a grant from zakat. The zakat must be given to the student personally. If the student is not an adult, then his shari'i wakil, meaning parents or legal guardian, must be eligible to receive zakat, and they must be given the possession of that amount. So if a student in an Islamic school, in a madrasa, in an Islamic seminary cannot give fees, and he's eligible for zakat. So if he's an adult himself, zakat will be given in his hand. If he's not adult, or if he's not an adult, so in that case, the parents or guardian would receive the zakat on his behalf as long as they are eligible to receive zakat and then paid to the school or the madrasa. Zakat can be paid in the same material on which it is due. What does it mean? For example, gold can be given as zakat due on gold assets. Or alternatively, it could be paid in cash. It is of vital importance to ensure at all times that the recipient is made the owner of zakat. Number 9, authority can be delegated to another person or an organization for the distribution of zakat in order to utilize it in accordance with the laws of Sharia. You want to send it in some other country where Muslims are being persecuted. You cannot reach there. But there are certain organizations, alhamdulillah, they are working on the ground. You can make them your wakil, your delegated person, your representative, and they would give the zakat, dispense the zakat on your behalf. Now, one thing to keep in mind, every year we mention it, whenever you give it to any organization, I'm not taking any names. I only know of one organization because I spoke with her, with the responsible person there. I don't even know the criteria of other Islamic organizations that are working in this country. So I'm not pinpointing anyone, but this is 101% fact. Once you call them, you'll come to know. When you give them your zakat or sadaqah, they don't pay the full amount, because how are they going to run themselves? You see the flyers of so and so organization. Where did the money come to print those flyers from? So they don't have 100% donation policy. And that's nothing wrong in that. They openly say this. The problem is it's not so advertised, which they should do. That's why we don't come to know what's the policy. But once you ask them, alhamdulillah, they say it. Every donation that comes in, 5%, 10%, 13%, 15% operational costs are deducted from it. No matter it's zakat, no matter it's donation, no matter it's sadaqah. Donation is fine, okay. But if you give $100 of zakat and they keep 15 in their pockets for operational purposes, in the court of Allah, you only gave $85 of zakat. You still owe Allah $15. So whenever you give it to an organization, ask them what's your policy and give them extra. If they will minus $15, give them $115. So 100 will go in zakat. This is something we should keep in mind. Yes, there are certain organizations that have 100% donation policy. So sure, I can take names, but it will be considered soliciting, which is not appropriate. So we can search, inshallah, and there are, alhamdulillah, now. Couple of years ago, there was none in the US, but alhamdulillah, they are there today. It's overseas also. So you can search for yourself, and inshallah, you can give them zakat if you want to choose them. Number 10, if a person requests someone to give a certain amount on his behalf as zakat, then that sum is given out, and that sum is given out, the discharge of the zakat will be valid. The sum given will be due upon the one who made this request. So you gave zakat, alhamdulillah, they paid on your behalf, your obligation is relieved. Now you have to pay him if you didn't give him in advance. He gave from his pocket, you have to pay him. If an agent is giving zakat for distribution and he does not distribute it, the zakat will not be fulfilled. And the sin of not discharging the obligatory duty of zakat will remain upon whom it was due. Agent will not be held responsible. Me and you will be held responsible. So this is why the masala that I mentioned before, we should check how much money they are giving out. Number 12, zakat should not be paid by estimation. Exact calculation should be done. Add another 5, 10, 15, 50, $100 in it to be on the safe side. Number 13, gold or silver jewelry must be weighed accurately for zakat purposes. How many of us do we have weighing machines for precious jewelry? Most of us don't have. It's cheap. We can buy it on Amazon or anywhere. If you don't have it, another way of doing it is whenever you buy gold, take a receipt from the jeweler and tell them write the amount of the money also, but because the money won't help, it's fluctuating, write the weight also. So then you can save it, scan it in your computer. For the next 20 years, you can always in Ramadan, Shaban, whenever your date is, look at the weight, multiply it by the current amount, you'll get the value. So either have a machine at home or either have the calculation and documented weight of all the jewelry that we have or gold or silver that we have. To whom zakat can be given. This is what Allah mentions in Surah At-Tawbah. إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَفِي الرِّقَابِ وَالْغَارِمِينَ وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. 8 categories, they are mentioned here. Zakat can be given to al-fuqara, al-masakin, al-amilin, al-mu'allafatul qulub, al-riqab, al-gharimin. Fi sabilillah, people who are doing the effort of deen. Wabnis sabil. Ibn Sabil means, in easy words, a traveler. We'll go in the detail, inshallah. Number 1, al-fuqara. What is the definition of all the 8 categories? People who are poor and who possess more than their basic needs, but do not possess wealth equal to nisab. I have $200 of saving. I don't have $500. Can I ask for zakat? Yes, I can ask for zakat. I can receive zakat. Though I have somewhat money, but I don't have it that is equivalent to nisab. Al-masakin. Masakin is the plural of miskin. People who are destitute and extremely needy to the extent that they do not have enough for their daily food ration also. So fuqara still have money. Faqir is much higher than miskin. In Arabic, miskin is the lowest level and the second level is faqir. Miskin is one who even doesn't have maybe $50. Doesn't know whether whether I'll be able to give lunch and provide lunch to my children tomorrow or not. This is a miskin. खाने जितने पैसे भी नहीं है, पता नहीं कल खाना मिलेगा कि नहीं, वो मिस्कीन है. फकीर वो है खाने जितने पैसे हैं लेकिन $500 नहीं है तो उसको ज़कात दे सकते हैं. Number 3, Al-Amilin, those persons who are appointed by an Islamic government to collect zakat, we mentioned it. It is not necessary that this be a needy person. Maybe he has a savings of $70,000, but he is taking this in Ramadan as a job. It's an Islamic government. He became a collector. They put an advertisement and they said, I'm ready to become a collector. Now his income, his salary will come out from that zakat. Unconcerned he is sahib nisab or not, it's fine for him to take zakat because he's not taking literal zakat. He's taking a salary for his effort. Number four, mu'allafatul qulub. Mu'allafatul qulub means qulub is the plural of qalb. Mu'allaf comes from ta'lif, to soften their hearts, make their hearts near us. What does it mean? Those persons that have recently accepted Islam and are in need of basic necessities, who would benefit from encouragement by the Muslims, and it would help to strengthen their faith in Islam. If a new Muslim convert brother or sister is eligible for zakat, he comes under this category, mu'allafatul qulub. He is more deserving to receive zakat than others. Number five, riqab. Riqab comes from raqaba. Raqaba means neck. What does it mean? Those slaves that are permitted to work for remuneration and have an agreement from their owners to purchase their freedom on payment of fixed amounts. There were many type of slaves in those days when slavery was common in the world, and one category was riqab. On the first day of becoming a slave, or down the road, the master would say, "Give me $10,000. The day you complete your installment of $10,000, you are free." So that slave was allowed to go out and do some job also, a few hours every day. And whatever he would earn, he would give it as an installment going towards his freedom. So if that ghulam comes to you, is Ramadan, give me zakat, he is eligible for zakat. This is the meaning. Slavery is not here anymore. Okay? So, the reason why I'm saying this might become a controversy, but the reason why I'm saying this, sometimes people ask these questions. May Allah forbid, if wars happen, can still there be slaves? No, there cannot be slaves anymore. So we should not blame Islam, na'uzubillah, that Islam continued slavery. Islam never introduced slavery. Never. Islam discouraged to continue slavery also. Okay. And if today also, if the wars take place and we think that this Islamic system can return, it cannot return. This is the consensus of the ulama. Why? I'm not going into detail because this is not the topic. So never be in this illusion that it is something that can always return back. Number six, al-gharimin. Those that have a debt and do not possess any other wealth or goods with which they can repay that which they owe. It is conditional that this debt was not created for any un-Islamic or sinful purposes. Gharimin is a plural of a person who is under debt. There is a person who has a debt of $10,000. He earns only $3,000 a month, and he only takes out $300 a month to pay the debt. He comes to you that you are taking out your zakat, give me some money so I can faster repay my debt. He is eligible to receive zakat because his savings are less than, his savings don't reach the nisab because of his debt. Now, this does not mean a person who bought the house on a 30-year loan or a person who financed the car on a 5-year term. He is also gharim. फिर हर घर का मालिक zakat लेने के काबिल हो जाएगा. Because the loan on him is maybe $500,000, maybe $400,000. Okay? So I'm eligible to receive zakat. He would say no. What type of loans are there? Down the road, inshallah, we'll mention. If I forget, remind me, inshallah. Number seven, fi sabilillah, those people that have to carry out a first obligatory act and subsequently, due to the loss of wealth, are unable to complete that first. A person had his own money and he's doing the effort of deen. All of a sudden, he lost the money or something happened and he is in halfway. He has to fulfill that responsibility that he took upon himself. It is allowed for us to give him zakat. Important. All types of common charitable causes are not included in this category. Why are they saying this? Shall explain. I'll repeat it again. All types of common charitable causes are not included in this category. A misunderstanding about the term fi sabilillah has led many Muslims to believe that this includes all types of charitable deeds. The Quran and the Ahadith do not support this. If all charitable causes were included in this category, there would have been no need for mentioning 8 different categories of masarif in the Quran. How would we rephrase this last paragraph? As I mentioned before, you would hear some ulama, with due respect, we respect them, alhamdulillah, of their knowledge. I don't mean to na'uzubillah trivialize their knowledge. This is a valid disagreement that we have. That they say fi sabilillah means in non-Muslim countries you can take zakat for building masjids also. You can take zakat for building the madrasa or Islamic school also. We don't accept this term. We don't accept this concept or this argument. We say if everything is so common that fi sabilillah, you are generalizing this term to such an extent, you are saying everything is coming in fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah. And Islamic school is also the effort of deen, path of Allah. Madrasa is also path of Allah. Masjid is also path of Allah. So if you're generalizing everything under fi sabilillah, Allah could have used the word fi sabilillah. Innama sadaqatu lilladhina fi sabilillah. Why did Allah say innama sadaqatu lil fuqara'i wal masakin wal amilin? This is a logical argument that if one word is so generalized, Allah did not need to use the remaining 7 words. And not a single letter of the Quran is without a purpose. Okay? Because Allah na'uzubillah cannot do this. This is a general logical reasoning. If somebody wants to go in more detail, that is something on some other note, inshallah. If you want to sit down, we can sit down on this. But this is a general way for the masses to understand why we don't accept this concept or perspective. Okay. Number 8, Ibn Sabil. Those who are musafir, travelers in the view of Sharia, and during the course of their journey do not possess basic necessities. Though they are well to do at home, they could be given zakat in order to complete their travel needs to return home. You are traveling, all of a sudden somebody took off your money. A robbery took place. Like for example, may Allah make it easy for everyone. I mean, the situation in Ukraine. Somebody was traveling from outside. Now he has to return back. Everything is in the banks. The banks are shut down. He's not eligible to receive zakat. Back home in America, he's a millionaire, but maybe nothing can be transferred via Western Union also. He's allowed to ask for zakat. At least this much money that he can buy food, train ticket, plane ticket, and return back home, this much zakat he can accept, though he's a millionaire at home. This is Ibn Sabil, a musafir, a traveler. So 7 categories that can receive zakat. To whom zakat can be given, masarif. This is who those, okay, once again, sorry, it's the same continuation. Important, all the above mentioned recipients, including al-amilin, must be those who do not possess the nisab. We already mentioned this. Everybody has to be eligible to receive zakat, should not have $526 or more, except for amilin. He is not getting zakat because he's poor. He's getting zakat as an income, as a salary. When giving zakat, one's poor and needy relatives should be given preference. To avoid embarrassment, it should be given without saying that it is zakat. People have this question, who is more preferred? My family members or my neighbors or people back home? So the first preference is to the relatives within the family who are eligible for zakat. You are not supposed to tell them, you should not tell them that this is zakat. Okay? Just give them, कि भैया आपके लिए हदिया है. This is a gift for you, and inshallah keep it and use for your necessities. There is great reward in giving zakat to poor persons who are striving in the way of deen, those who are engaged in religious knowledge, or to religious institutions where poor or needy students are being cared for. Care should be taken that only such institutions are giving zakat which use it according to the Sharia. Zakat eligible students in Islamic school, zakat eligible students in Hifz Madrasa, in a Maktab, in an Alim course madrasa, in a Mufti course, Hifz zakat eligible students who are striving for this, doing the effort of deen, zakat should be given to them and they should also be preferred. Okay? And once again, sometimes institutions misuse the zakat. Okay? So we have to be careful. Always check with people who might know that institution, that how are they, what's the past history, how they have been using zakat. Okay, somebody gets zakat and then prints material, dawa material from zakat, and then spreads it in non-Muslims. This is not correct. Who is being malik of this? Who is being made malik? There is no tamlik here. So that's why we have to be careful. A child of a wealthy father cannot be given zakat. When such a child becomes mature and does not own wealth to the value of nisab, he may be given zakat. Wealthy father sending to a Islamic school or madrasa, but says I cannot pay the fees, and I'm not making it up. We see cases like this. We are dealing with this. Father can pay the full amount, but he's not paying in the madrasa. He's not paying in the school, and the masjid has to fulfill the deficit of the Islamic school. Masjid has to fulfill the deficit of the madrasa. Now we cannot give him zakat because he's below age. If he's of age, we can give him zakat if he doesn't have this much savings. If he is below age, we cannot give him zakat. Zakat can be given to who can receive it? Brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, uncles and aunts, step grandfathers and step grandmothers, father in laws and mother in laws, provided they do not possess nisab, both paternal and maternal. Zakat cannot be given to. Zakat cannot be given to Sayyid, Sadat's family, meaning from the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Fatima radiallahu anha, and the progeny downwards. Zakat cannot be given to immediate antecedents. Antecedents going up, descendants going down. So immediate antecedents such as parents, grandfather. So going up we cannot give zakat, going down we cannot give zakat, and sideways we cannot give zakat. What does it mean? Father, grandfather, great grandfather. Downwards, son, grandson, granddaughters, great grandsons, great granddaughters. Sideways, brothers and sisters are not included. We already mentioned they will get it. Sideways means husband cannot give to the wife, wife cannot give to the husband. Other than that, everybody can receive zakat. In the same manner, one's descendants, such as children and grandchildren, cannot be given zakat. Meaning, I cannot give it to my father, I cannot give it to my son. Somebody else can give them. A person himself cannot give. A husband and wife cannot give zakat to each other. Zakat contributions cannot be given to such institutions or organizations that do not give the rightful recipients, masarif, possession of zakat, but instead use zakat funds for construction, investment, or salaries. Such institutions should not be given zakat. Zakat must be given in the ownership of eligible individuals. Zakat cannot be given to non-Muslims. General donation, general charity, sadaqah, we can give them, but zakat we cannot give them. If one cannot determine whether the recipient is needy or not, it is better to make certain before giving zakat. If zakat is given without inquiry and subsequently it is known that the recipient is wealthy, the zakat is not valid. It has to be given again. अच्छी तरह तहकीक करें. हर किसी के कहने पे ज़कात नहीं दे दें कि भाई मेरे फ़लाँ रिश्तेदार को ज़कात की ज़रूरत है, मैं जमा कर रहा हूँ पाकिस्तान भेजने. अच्छी तरह तहकीक हो, यहाँ पे भी तहकीक हो. अगर बग़ैर तहकीक के दे दिया और वो ज़कात का मुस्तहिक़ नहीं था, आपकी ज़कात कबूल नहीं होगी. If we didn't do enough research, just got the news from somewhere and we just gave it off, and he was not eligible, she was not eligible, zakat has to be given again. Zakat will not be fulfilled by purchasing books for an institution or land purchased for public utility and made waqf. Somebody buys the land out of zakat and gives it as an endowment to the masjid or madrasa. This is not the way to do it. Zakat cannot be used for the kafan, shroud of a deceased person who has no heirs. The people who have heirs, their heirs will give the money for the kafan. But if somebody has no one, like this, it happens in this country, we cannot use zakat money for burial purposes. Zakat cannot be given as salary or amount due upon a contract. We already discussed it. Zakat cannot be given to construct a masjid, school, discussed. A dead person's death cannot be paid from zakat. It happened a few times. Questions came. So and so person passed away, he has so much debt. Can we gather zakat and pay the debt on his behalf? No. He's not becoming Malik, he's dead. You want to pay off his debt so Allah doesn't hold him responsible on the day of judgment, or the people don't hold him responsible. They pay the debt from the regular sadaqah that you take out, or from the regular money you have. Very good if you can do it. But from zakat, you cannot. Zakat on merchandise, money, checkings account, stock, it's understandable, gold and silver. But what if your savings is in some other form? Articles that are for sale are referred to as merchandise. The nisab for zakat on merchandise is the same as that for cash. Zakat is farz obligatory on the following items when calculating a balance sheet: stock in trade, goods in transit. You bought something overseas, you paid for it, now the container got loaded and the ship is in the Atlantic Ocean. You have already paid for it, it's on the way. You have to give zakat on it also. Cash on hand, cash at the bank, savings accounts, fixed deposits, claims, meaning loans, as long as they are acknowledged. Other savings, all are zakat eligible items. All these must be added as one amount. Do a total of everything. And after subtracting the creditor's amount, what is the meaning of creditor's amount? You own a shop and the supplier gives you credit for 30 days. After 30 days, you have to pay him. So now, when you are making your balance sheet for zakat, you owe him $1,000, you can minus it because it's already ready. It's owed already. He will come in the next 30 days. One is he says it's not owed yet, that's a different thing. So you can minus the creditor's amount, and or any other liabilities like bills, utility bills. The balance must be added to the capital. Zakat must be then given on this combined figure. Okay, let me mention here. Long-term loans, buying a house in this country, financing a car, these are long-term loans. Student loans, these are long-term loans. These loans are not considered loans in Islam. Islam considers loans those things that are short term. So if you have $30,000 due on an Infinity, maybe you bought, or you owe $400,000 on the house you bought 5 years ago, can you at least deduct something from it, from the balance sheet? Or we are not allowed to deduct anything. So the ulama say you are allowed to deduct that month's installment. So if in Ramadan the installment that is going to go would be for $2,000 for the house or $500 for the Infinity, you can deduct that amount. But you cannot deduct more than that. Number 4, zakat should be given on the capital that exists on the haul date, which includes the profit. For example, at the beginning of the year, the capital is $20,000. When the year ends, a profit of $5,000 is shown on the balance sheet. Zakat must be given on $25,000. As long as you have these figures in reality, you have $20,000 at the end of the year from the principal amount, and you have $5,000 from the profit. Add both of it, and zakat will be given on $25,000. If a bad debt is recovered and it is equal to or exceeds the nisab, then zakat on all the past years will be given. Good debt is the person acknowledges it. Bad debt is he says, I don't know you. And maybe Allah guides him after 10 years, he comes and says, sorry, I owe $5,000 to you. So here is the amount. So now that was a bad debt and you were not taking it out. But now since he brought it, you have to give the zakat for the last 10 years. This is the meaning. If one has various different types of merchandise, then the total value of all the goods should be calculated. If it is equal to or exceeds the value of nisab, then it will be necessary to give zakat. As I mentioned, different type of stuff, join it together, goes to the nisab value, zakat has to be given. Number 7, if at the beginning of the year one has the full nisab and during the year the amount decreases, and by the end of the year possession of the full nisab is regained, then it will be necessary to give zakat on this amount regardless of fluctuations in the interim. We already discussed it. Number 8, if one mixes halal and haram merchandise and the amount is equal to or exceeds the nisab at the end of the year, it will be necessary to give zakat. What does it mean? without, I don't mean to offend anyone, but if may Allah forbid our business is haram, or our business is mixed, half halal, half haram, and we take out zakat from the haram money, how will the zakat be accepted? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inna Allah tayyibun la yaqbalu illa tayyiba." More or less meaning in English that Allah is pure and Allah accepts only that which is pure. So this means if you are giving zakat from haram money, it's not accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the ruling based on the hadith. This is not based on the qudrat of Allah. Maybe if Allah, out of His mercy, accepts it, nobody can stop it. But this is a ruling, fiqhi, juristic ruling based on the hadith. Okay, so for example, somebody's income is mixed up, some halal, some haram. But at the end of the year, it reaches the nisab. He has to take out zakat because somewhat halal is there. Number 9, it is necessary to calculate the price of merchandise at the current wholesale price. Zakat should be calculated on these figures. It's a question, a person has a merchandise worth $100,000. Should we calculate the retail value of that merchandise, or should we calculate the wholesale value? So we would calculate the wholesale value and then take out zakat on it. Because maybe he it stays there on the shelf for the next 4 months, and he puts a sale on it and he sells it on the wholesale price, who knows? So Islam doesn't want you to lose. Number 10, if a few persons are partners in a company, and if any one share of the partners is equal to or exceeds nisab, it will be necessary for that partner to give zakat. Every partner is responsible for his or her share in the company. Zakat on stocks must be calculated on the haul date, meaning when your 1 year finishes. Zakat is due at the current price on shares held in a company at the end of every haul. First Ramadan, you have $50,000 worth of stocks. Whatever the current value of that stock, whether it's less than the buying price or whether it's more than the buying price, the current value will be taken into consideration. Number 13, as machinery, land, fixtures and fittings, furniture, buildings are exempt from zakat, one is allowed to subtract these from the total assets. This could be obtained from the company's annual report. This is related to your own company or related to stocks or whatever the case. Number 14, when zakat is given on a capital amount once, then thereafter, if this same amount remains with the owner until the following year, then zakat will be due again. Zakat will be due repeatedly after every haul has elapsed. What does it mean? $5,000, you gave zakat on the 1st of Shaban, 2nd of Shaban today. Next year, again on the 2nd of Shaban, that same exact money is lying there. And the question would come in your mind, I have taken out zakat. I haven't even moved that money. Should I have to take out zakat again? Yes, you should take out zakat again. It doesn't make any difference because 1 year has passed. With this, we end, inshallah. If anybody has any questions, inshallah, they can ask. If we have any questions, Omar, on the Facebook, maybe you can let me know.
So there has to be fixed, like 1 year you give zakat in Shaban, the next year you give in Ramadan.
Zakat?
Yeah.
The brother is asking that 1 year you give in Shaban and 1 year, the next year, instead of giving in Shaban, you give zakat in Ramadan. One is literally disposing of the money and one is calculating. At least the calculation should be done in Shaban. We should not delay it. If somebody delays it and then gives zakat, it's accepted, but we'll get the sin of delaying for 1 year. At least when we delaying for 1 month. At least when we calculate in Shaban, then we have it ready. Whenever the poor person comes, we can give it. Yeah.
Said that close relatives, they're more
Deserving.
yes, deserving. So let's say, for example, like the cousins of ours, their father passed away, and they don't have any source of income anymore. So does that mean that they're able to?
Good question. It was mentioned that relatives are more deserving. Somebody lost their father, the children, their source of income is very low. The mother is a single mother. Can they receive zakat? Yes, they can receive zakat, but as long as they don't have a savings clean of debt, they don't have a savings of $526 or whatever the nisab is. If they have this much savings and it has no debt on it or anything, it's a typical saving, then we should still help them out, but from sadaqah or regular money. We cannot give them zakat. Ji. Okay.
A person is zakat eligible, and the two neighbors they realize that that person is zakat eligible. They both decide that to give $500 to this person, but one neighbor gives 500 before the other could choose, and the second person gives 500 next year. That the person is receiving, obviously, is zakat eligible and his nisab net
Okay.
before the second person should. Is it possible to receive that person, or he should, tell the other person that I already have nisab, I cannot take this?
Very good. If a neighbor is zakat eligible and two neighbors decide to help him out, one gives money first $526 and he became the owner of Nisab. Okay? And then the next neighbor gives. So the recipient, does he have to tell the second neighbor, don't give me zakat anymore? I'm not eligible of it. If he used it, for example, the next couple of days and it went down $526, it was like 495, he's still eligible to receive zakat, technically speaking. But if the exact amount still remains there and he knows that the other neighbor is helping him from zakat, then now it's his responsibility to inform him that, look, you can help me out from regular money, please don't give me zakat. If that amount remains until that day, yes. Yes, brother.
For the organizations that take percentage, this organization they collected the cash and distributed or overseas money. Can these fees consider part of the al-amilin alayha if they are working on zakat?
No, the good question. Zakat, the organizations that receive zakat and pay on our behalf, they have this operational cost of 10-12%. Can they be considered al-amilin, as we just read and heard? Because they are basically doing the effort of receiving zakat and making it sure that it reaches to the correct recipients. They won't be considered like this because the main condition of the Islamic government is missing. These are non-governmental organizations, so that's why it won't be considered like this. Ji,
When you make it in charge or someone responsible back home to give the zakat, you still have to validate who they are distributing, or if they say
you still have to do what?
the person here, you still have to validate every single person they are going to give zakat if you trust that person or not.
Good. Back home, you trust a person. He says, I know people who are eligible for zakat, and you send him the zakat money. Are you still responsible for individually researching every household to which he or she is giving zakat? If that person is this much trustworthy, he knows the rulings of zakat, or you have done the muzakara, you have revised with him that, look, whoever fulfills this criteria, you should give zakat to him. Whoever doesn't, don't give him zakat. Tell me, I'll send some sadaqah money instead of the zakat. And you trust him that, alhamdulillah, he's trustworthy, then you don't have to do that individual research. Yes.
Madrasa who receive the zakat from different sources, can they put everything and distribute it to the students? A certain amount for their needs. Is it possible, or they have to give exact amount of money from whatever their source they are getting?
No, I didn't get this question. They are receiving zakat and then?
And they from 10 different people,
Okay.
they pull it
They put everything together
together, and then they give that $50
to every student.
the eligible student.
Ji, ji.
Is it okay to do that?
Yeah, the question is, one institution receives zakat from 10 different zakat givers, and then they gather the money, it became $5,000. Now they filtered out the zakat eligible students from the madrasa, and they give $1,500 each to every student. So that's fine, based on whatever the need of the student. And now it's their it's their right to decide how much money we should give to every student. That's fine, because we gave them the responsibility that you decide that whatever way in zakat eligible categories you can use it. Any questions, Umar? No. Anybody else here, Jay? No, you cannot build the question is, can we build a madrasa building? We cannot build a madrasa building with the zakat money. In the madrasa, which categories are eligible for zakat? The zakat eligible students can receive zakat in the form of clothing, in the form of rations, in the form of wazifa, cash money to spend every month, or like these, that they become malik of that and they can use it. These are the categories in which zakat can be given. Zakat cannot be given for the building of the madrasa. Zakat cannot be given for the maintenance of the madrasa. Zakat cannot be given in the salary of the employees also. Yeah. Okay, inshallah, so we'll wrap up. Whatever was said and heard, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it also and give us the understanding. Ameen. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.